first. Penny, Elsa, now go, and we'll dive in.
Right. And we've been talking, Amy, before you got here. I know a little bit about him. Are you telling me to introduce myself? I'm
Just
sorry.
very quickly, yeah, very quickly.
Okay. Let's see. I'm a lawyer. I have been since 1987. I met Amy as part of a lawsuit against the company that ran the Texas Youth Commission um, well, counseling center. Just might as well call it a prison. Worse than a prison because they were so mistreated. And that was in 1998. So we've known each other a long time. Thrilled to be helping her. I tell her, I get up. Okay, I've been practicing law a long time. It can get kind of boring. Um, or people want answers, and I'm like, I gotta go find them. But I love this. I get up every morning. I'm like, what are we gonna do today to make a theme park up here in Taylor? So I love it. I mean, I'm just thrilled to be working on it. I got a background in litigation, business formation, ongoing business issues. After, like I said, after this many years, kind of done a little bit of everything. I've been general counsel for several companies. So I'm jack of all trades. When Amy needs something, I go, yes, ma'am. How can I help you?
I love that.
Yeah. Elsa, go ahead.
I'm Elsa Malik. I run a human behavior consulting firm called Blue Monarch Group. And I started this organization because I've worked for a lot of companies, and both agencies, like marketing agency side and direct from either a data science or marketing role, leading teams. And the last role I had was an event company that wanted to turn into experience and incentives. And after I did that, I was like, it'd be great if we actually knew what motivated people through some behavioral science intelligence. And they're like, that's a great idea. We're not going to fund it though. So
Great idea.
Wonderful idea, Elsa. But no. So that's kind of when I parted ways with that organization, and that's how my organization was born. And in full circle moments, they are now my client. Because I lead their behavioral research for their incentives and events. So it's a fun time. I love the company. They're great people. They just kind of didn't want to fork over the amount of dollars that I anticipated, and it worked out to my favor now. And yeah, Yango and I have been talking for about 2 years in various capacities. And since we do really specialize in human behavior studies, we have about 20 different disciplinaries that we focus on very, very diligently, including gender, racial, ethnic studies around how those conditions change perception and change the way that people see things, in addition to psychology, neuroscience, anthropology, and so on. So a lot of the programs that we work on are economic development opportunities, and getting organizations or companies and major businesses to be seen in a different light and have new potential that they could tap into. And I remember talking to Amy this week, and she very much inspired me on what she's doing, because I think it blends this entertainment plus learning and really eye-opening moment for where people are going to go. And that is such a unique stance, and I think it's going to put like a star right on Taylor to say this is something that's never been done before, and it probably will be incredibly hard to repeat, because you need that kind of experience that Amy was mentioning to get that going.
I think Penny left something very important out now that I've decided to be the first mayor of Taylor with boobs. What did your dad do, Penny?
Was my daddy? He was the mayor of Nacogdoches. Well, that was his, side job. he had a real job. He owned real businesses. But yeah, he was the mayor of Nacogdoches, and he didn't have boobs. So look, your advantage is. Like,
And Penny knows how to use hers
I
too.
try to rein in, Amy. It don't work. So I just don't. I'm like, you can't have boobs on LinkedIn.
Yes, I did. Speaking of human behavior, it seems that that's the only thing that gets people's attention. And so that's why I talked on the video about, I'm sorry nobody pays attention when I'm talking about economic development, but my views definitely go up, and I get monetized when I put my boobs on the screen.
You know what? As my grandmother said, my very first trial, she said, dress pretty and do good. You have an asset, use it, whatever that may
Yeah.
be. Yes.
So Yangbug, tell Penny. Oh,
Yep.
well, did you already do your intro?
No.
Well, very we haven't yet. So Penny give you some background. I've been in various capacities related to sustainability, sustainable development, social enterprise, and adjacent areas for close to 20 years now. About 6 years in the knots, doing research in energy, environmental, economics, and policy. And left out, I was last time I was there, was post at the MIT econ department. Left since it was dominated by people who were there to be somebody, then to do some things. So status over autonomy. And then I spent about a year or so just throwing the proverbial book at the job search process, energy environment related NGOs, government agencies, consulting firms, anywhere I could put 6 years of research experience to good use, and quickly found my personality struck fear in those met with mediocrity, which rendered me unhireable entry mid-level to any established organization. So only option left, co-found startups. Did that for much of the 2010s, depending on how you count. Failed fast and early 4 to 6 times, and then gradually transitioned over into the impact finance space, as I was the early follower to the 17 sustainable development goals, and realizing that it's not really about convincing people just to that there isn't really enough funding or assets available. That 10 years ago, well, now it's 500 trillion, but back then it's 300 trillion, 90 trillion, today 150 trillion needed to achieve all 17 of the global goals worldwide. So money's not the issue here. The question is now, how do you develop a bankable pipeline of projects that can be scaled, that can be replicated, basically on a very large basis to a level that would attract the attention of the asset managers with over 100 billion, if not trillions under management. So did that for a bit, and then that was how I was brought into Innovo in the end. Never had any idea that they existed. 9 years in stealth at that point, early 2020, right in the middle of pandemic lockdowns. Old LinkedIn message from one of their team members that landed right as I was coming out of a breakout session of the Skull Forum, which went fully remote because of the pandemic. And it turned out in the session was all sustainable supply chaining. I wrote back with a quick debrief session. He then wrote back to me saying that's exactly what we're about. Let me introduce you to our founders. So in a few months, they brought me on board officially, and things started snowballing from that point on. And now we've effectively repositioned as a project finance accelerator, focusing on scaling profitable clean tech with the aim of helping halve CO2 emissions by 2030, as well, profitably, as well as achieving zero waste, circular economy, decarbonization plus circular economy. And that's the pillar really we're bringing in with what I'm doing with ELSA on sustainable destination development.
Great. I think I understand most of what you just said. I get my head stuck in a law book and I don't come out very much. So I'm absorbing. Okay.
So we're building nations now, Penny, and we're joining them, and they're going to help us. And how many places do you guys think? How many other areas do you think need historically accurate history parks and sustainable development communities around these beautiful historically like areas? Like I'm already thinking all these stories, and there's even another tale that you guys I'm so excited about. Whoever the lost Dutchman is in Utah that went and found a big thing of gold. I mean, it's so cool to like hear these stories, but um I kind of want us to do some research and go around and find out what other parks or history parks aren't really doing so well, and see if they'll allow us to either buy them out or scale them and join them or whatever. But there's
How
a
many
lot of
history
there's a
parks?
lot of already. I want us to recycle what's already there and revamp it, and really, really tell the story like they probably wanted to in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I think of like St. Augustine, Florida, which is the oldest
Mhm.
city
Yeah.
in the country that's like officially known. And that, like, think about the amount of history that you could tap into, because there is a little bit of a haunted element already there, and you can pull, like, I think that the cultural component is going to be really critical to this process, is to say, how do we, because part of our process, in our, and Yangbo, I don't know if you sent Amy and Penny the strategy lab yet.
Yes, yeah, I did. So Amy, you have it. Yeah.
I don't
And
know
Yeah.
if I have it, but I'll check.
Part of our process, so the strategy lab is basically a blend of Blue Monarch's blueprint and the sustainable component that Yangbo really kind of works through, called their roadmap or their navigator. And I'll let Yangbo speak to the amazing things that the navigator can do, but on the blueprint side, it really is kind of going back to, like, what is the identity and culture of that community and how do we untap it? And I think that this, like, lost art history component could really showcase a lot more further, because we do talk about what is the identity of the destination, and how do we place make with such a unique component, because not everybody can be in Atlanta, Georgia, and not everybody should be in Atlanta, Georgia.
Right.
You want a nice blend, and the only way that you can position is position uniquely. What's more unique than your identity in your past? Very little. And I think that's where we can work together very, very succinctly for future projects, is to say, all right, we'll do this in Taylor, we'll get that kicked off, and then position the theme park. I don't want to call it a franchise because I think that's too limiting for what you're doing, but that concept, that business model of taking it and then placing it somewhere else, and doing it in that unique environment.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that would be the basis of engagement, Amy and the Penny, with Ben and the White at Taylor EDC would be, because this is very well aligned with Taylor's comprehensive plan, in fact.
Mhm. Yeah, I've done my research. I literally have become an economist. I need UT to give me an honorary diploma.
We'll work on that.
Penny, can you work on that, please?
I'll work on that.
UT
Well,
owes us, you know,
you really should
they,
ask one of my colleagues, see Ruben Cantu. He's a lecturer in entrepreneurship at the business school there. Yes,
well,
so
Penny, yeah, please, Penny, reach out to him because they teach about our case at UT. They teach about our case actually at law schools all over the world. And I think I deserve a freaking diploma. I didn't get one, but my God, look what I'm doing now. And I think I've done a good job. And
Yeah.
I mean, if they teach about our case, they should either pay me or give me a diploma, right? I mean, I don't know.
No, I think that might be a little public record, but that's just the lawyer and me talking. I'm all for getting you money, whatever it takes. Okay.
Um, and so Penny, we'll make sure that you have that forward of kind of how the blueprint works. Youngbo, do you want to go into description about the navigator component? Because these
yes,
are literally like
right.
two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, exactly. So Navigator is focusing on how you position decarbonization and circular economy together as a profitable proposition. So fiscally, financially, socioeconomically, all of those. So one would be figure out, well, where your best opportunities to cut your emissions, get to zero waste, what's most cost effective, how can you really get the most value? So just not just the businesses, but also the community impact. How will you get the most value from this? And where it's particularly salient in Taylor's situation is that because of its location, very attractive to heavy manufacturing moving in right now. So Samsung plant, Tesla expanding the footprint, taking advantage of the location along Union Pacific's rail junction, and then really integrating that with the placemaking and
Yeah.
all the other dimensions of it. So really using that industrial strategy to then drive placemaking and all of these other undertakings to focus on livability that really enables Taylor to enhance its economic profile by building on its strengths. So basically it's not like Taylor must become something that's not, but using its strengths to actually become something that is unique here, that this is a unique destination for people.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of reinvigorating what had always been, but it's just hidden under all this other minutia.
Right. Well, they kind of got left out of the loop when I mean, before Samsung came there, the Austin area had grown like to Round Rock and Pflugerville and Georgetown, but somehow at that point, Taylor had been left out of that loop and had not gotten all of the benefits that it could get from bringing new industry there. And so Samsung really opened the door to the knowledge that, hey, I mean, obviously Amy knew it was there because she grew up there, but it really opened the door to other people saying, hey, wait, there's opportunities in Taylor that may not be
Mhm.
available in these other places that have been built up already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Taylor's
Uh,
always been a manufacturing town. There's been like Intercraft. It started off as a cotton gin manufacturing town. Literally, they've manufactured cotton and grain.
Right. And they still do. I
Yeah,
mean, still acres and hectares of farmland there.
yeah,
All,
yeah.
mhm.
yeah.
So I want to teach a whole bunch of kids how to go pick cotton because my grandma doesn't let me go a holiday without hearing us tell her stories about how her hands used to get so messed up picking cotton. So I
No,
want
it's
to teach
a
the
bad job.
kids what our
It's a
grandparents
rough
had to
job.
do.
Rough
Yeah.
job. They have machines now for that though.
Yeah, well, we're going to teach them what the
Right.
process. We're going to dive into each era
Yeah, I've already got
and
an
take
idea.
them back in time.
I want to be a virtual reality ride, and I want to be a cotton seed, and I want to grow falls off the stalk of its mama, and then killed up in the earth. See, sometimes I just have to go over here to Playland, and
That is such a cool
you do,
idea,
yeah, I'm
Penny. Oh my
serious. Like,
God.
you get a little ride, and sometimes you're moving, and sometimes you're looking at it through your goggles, and you're going to be the seed, and you're going to go from falling off
The
your
life
mama.
cycle of cotton.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
then getting whooshed down into the. I mean, oh, I just have all these ideas, not much to do with them, but I write them down.
So I think the core purpose of our call is Amy and Penny, you guys are obviously locals. You have the influence and connection to it. And the way that we're kind of seeing it is I think our strategy lab opens the opportunity for us to create some feasible solutions for Taylor on the government level. And we already, I had my team actually listen to our previous call around it, and we were talking about what could the perception shape to if we had something like the theme park come to life, and where would that go? And I think that would make a really strong business case for us to include, even if, because we're not even done with the research, but the team's starting to like my organization's starting to kind of research like what is Taylor, what's its identity, and so on before we get into the interviews with some of the folks. The concept, our team is kind of like, yeah, that seems like a no-brainer for a very like small town America environment for you to put a footprint there. And I'll have my analysts do a little bit more economic modeling for the potential that we can kind of tie numbers to, but that may bring your business case significantly higher for investment, as well as, the opportunity for the rest of Taylor to embrace this entire theme park, because it is going to obviously change the landscape of tailors. So we need to make sure we communicate appropriately.
And
Yes, and
oh, sorry. Who's going?
we have a meeting with the Taylor Police Department, with the police chief and his staff on, is it the 27th, Penny?
It's Thursday. So that's,
Thursday. I would like for you guys, if you can, Elza, please attend that meeting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very important.
we're
I
gonna,
asked them for a salary, a car, and a house because I'm helping to solve some unsolved crimes.
Yeah.
you know, I
What
think
time
that
is it?
Oh, let me look. I'll tell you. Hang on. I think that while I do that, I'll talk because that's what I like to do. I think that one of the things that we bring to Taylor, as opposed to a Samsung, is the ability to employ a vast range of people. I mean, we're
Yes.
talking about from people who can clean up to the people who can make sure the chips are working in the goggles. Okay. I mean, you know, all the way through. So we're
Right.
not Samsung, you know, I'm sure they have some lower, I don't know the right word for it, lower, I can't
Early entry.
less educated people working there, but it's not like what we can bring. I mean, we can give these people a new life.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's actually the key component we were talking about, is it allows for a diverse workforce to thrive in
Very.
it, versus what Austin is really bringing is those high tech, really, you know, at a minimum, some kind of computer science undergrad, if not higher, that is often not attainable for the average person, unfortunately. But there could be opportunity for, especially if we do decide to have, you know, hoteliers to start to bring in spaces where you would need that blended. And you can partner, and I've done this before here in the Chicagoland. You can create an apprenticeship program so that way the tuition is not so astronomically insane, but it gives you the associate or that, you know, hotel management undergrad at a significantly lower cost. And if the state ends up being part of it, you can actually get it for tuition free, as long as, you know, you work with the company for X amount of years. And that creates, you have the kind of labor that doesn't require high education to the labor that requires a significant education, and then create a pipeline for the middle. So now you've got this like really thriving circular economy, because the only way this works, and Amy, I told you about it, though, the worst thing that you could do is gentrify the whole area and then make it not sustainable for anybody.
Right.
And we've seen that happen time and time again. But if you create this model, then there's opportunity for everybody. And there's also opportunity for people to move should they choose. I know a lot of system engineers who are like, I never want to work in engineering ever again. I just want like a normal job and go home at 5 o'clock. And they literally do that. They'll take like 3 years off and do something totally different just to get away from the industry, because sometimes the industry is toxic. And that actually could work. And the other way around, if you are in that janitorial space and you want to maybe move into hotel management, there's a path.
Great. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. And another thought I wanted to put in y'all's head is UT is going to be moving a campus to Taylor.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I'm also a graduate of Job Corps. I would like to approach Job Corps and see if they'd be interested in opening a campus in Taylor. I think there's a need for it, and they'd be a great partner to have. My dad also graduated from Job Corps, so I think it's a cool story. It adds to it.
Absolutely. Penny, I'm sorry if you already mentioned this. When was the call and what day?
There's Thursday the 27th at 3:00 Central Time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Great.
perfect.
Excellent. Yep. Just for the invite, so we'll be there.
I'll do that. I think actually Amy and I are going, so we'll probably just have to set it up, or we'll set it up.
Great.
Yeah, we're going to go in person to that one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna look for my house while I'm down there.
Yes.
There you go.
I got to live with you till I get mine.
Ooh, that could be busy.
I think that's important. And then obviously, since you two know the community so well, of getting those early stage conversations so we can move this ball forward. And Amy, I know we talked a little bit about this, but any type of funding strategy that you'd like to pick my brain on, I'm happy to share my insight too. I've done quite a few of them from a not necessarily a real estate development, even though this is not exactly that, it's similar.
Yeah.
That we can kind of work through and really refine those. I'm happy to share them. I'm in love with your program as a whole. So
I know. I am this is amazing. I just can't believe I'm living my dream. I never planned this for my life, but I've known I was always supposed to do something of this magnitude. And I know that I'm probably going to do something even greater than this afterwards. But I need some startup money. We need startup money. Me and Penny need to organize some events. I have a really fancy car place. Ooh, Penny, can you put that in the chat and show them the really fancy car place I sent you? There's a luxury car place that said we can do one there. And then I want to hit up like a bunch of barbecue places and do like a fundraiser for my startup. I need to get local people involved, and
like a
I am a former,
crowdfunding kind of,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm a former campaign manager and well, and a precinct captain for the ACLU, but I helped with some pretty major things here in Texas and in California. But I just I kind of want to be I don't want to cause any division. So I don't want to be affiliated with the ACLU right now. I'm in Texas, like I could die for that. Don't want to do that right now. But my one of my old best friends, he passed away. He was actually one of the national directors for the ACLU. Um, and I feel like I'm doing so much. I just want to know who should I approach to get startup money from, because I don't feel it should be this hard. And it's been really hard.
Yeah, it is. It sometimes feels like it's a endless battle. So I'm happy to share my insights and give you even like some bullet points around like here's probably where I would go to find the funding. Happy to share that. I love your grassroots route too. I don't know if it's going to produce the monetary amount that you want, but it could give you like you'll have to talk about like what the equity structure is going to look like if you do kind of a blend of both. Those are the questions that every investor is going to want to know. So you and the three of us can schedule a different time on that particular component, and give you insight there. And I think from our end, it's like who, I can't remember the person's name that you had mentioned earlier this week.
Robert
The
Smith.
the key the economic development kind of
Ben
team.
White.
Ben
Ben
White, who would probably be a good person for us to connect with. So
Yeah,
we can
so
get
it's
some
really
of these
just
processes out.
get the EDC, so get them
You
bought
know,
in because
let me tell you guys, I'm going to tell you, I went that route and they sent me to a few different VCs in Austin. And those VCs acted like I was speaking Japanese and they didn't understand my plan for Haunted Texas at all. And they looked at me like I was retarded.
Do you have a pitch deck?
Yeah.
Okay. Feel free to send to me. I'll give you
yeah, and then
I know
yeah.
exactly what VCs
And
want.
and
For
I mean,
sure.
I'm going to forward you guys the emails. When I tell you, I feel like I have been getting railroaded and blocked. I mean, I've been, but Ben, he's on my side, but a lot of other people in Austin and in this area, they don't want to advance women in anything. And that's the thing I've been running into.
Yeah, and I think that there is definitely like a VC speak. Um, And if you don't know the lingo, you don't get in. Fortunately, I know the lingo. My Eastern European self did not give up 10 years ago, and I'm like, someone's going to invest in this company, and I know it's going to. So I'm happy to share like the little tidbits that I picked up, and how I framed it, for it. I think for Ben's side, it's more around this comprehensive circular economy mode where the perception program, the Innovo technologies, and the theme park become critical pieces to realize that type of economic development. Because you may come, and we'll have to do some more financial modeling, which is part of the strategy lab. Is we may come to the decision to say, you know what, Amy's asking for $25 million, but the amount of money that you would gain in just tax revenue alone in the next 10 years would be incredibly feasible. That's when they would probably come and say, let me introduce you. Let me give you a hand introduction to this person who invests in Taylor individually, and really creating that business case for it. And then you have two other validators that can kind of say, if you
Yeah,
put in something like
and
this.
that's great. And it really gives you some time because what you really want to do, since I've already briefed my teammate Denise Al-Halabi with the Innovo about this. Basically, she said I shared with her your number. She'll be calling you. Actually, next week is her annual week off from her day job, which she does intend to leave once Innovo really gets the flywheel going. And she is the one who has brought in some deal advisors whose clients are very large asset managers, as well as some of these big platform traders in the City of London, so that you basically bring in investors that will go through the projects, get your financials in order, get your data room order, get all your qualified investors also in. So you have pre-qualified investors, pre-qualified project, then that can then be introduced to those trade investors in the City of London, backed by the major banks there. And then the advantage for the investors that we bring in would be that they'd be able to get liquidity in as little as 12 months, since then we'll leave it up to those banks to do the matchmaking in terms of how they're getting the liquidity. So basically that will be coming down this autumn once they close out some of their current trades, once they get some liquidity again. But in the meantime, really, it's focusing on getting the strategy lab off, because that is the lowest. Is what I feel is the lowest hanging fruit we have based on what we have on hand. The strategy lab, and then while in parallel, getting the financials and the data room, all of that fully in order, so that this can actually be presented readily in front of multi-hundred-billion-dollar asset managers.
Yeah, so we really need to get a meeting with Elza Penny and go through our pitch deck and our master plan, and get with Luke from the Small Business Development Center, and getting me all the market data for the area, and doing like feasibility studies and everything for me. I hope we can have that ready by next week.
Okay.
If
Yeah,
you
and
guys have
yeah, and this would also be really, because honestly, what would really be a much more viable option instead of VCs would be it's a real estate play here. That's where
Real
you're
estate
at.
investment firms.
It
Yeah.
is.
Exactly.
That's
So,
where,
and you
They
structure
like
it.
these deals.
Yeah,
They like
real
these
estate
deals.
investments. So 80-20 is typical, 80% debt, 20% equity. Same goes for like that's the normal for
split.
that's quite normal for project finance on Innovo's end, for $500 million plus projects converting old tires, municipal solid waste, or even coal into power hydrogen and products with no emissions.
Yeah, and you may be able, and Youngbo, you and I told or talked about this earlier. There's some foreign money that is really interested in taking up some, specifically Texas dollars. I kind of hear it from the grapevine. So we may discuss a international pitch deck versus a maybe Texas focused pitch deck, because I keep hearing about specific organizations and family offices that want to have a foothold in the US, and something unique would be way better from a real estate standpoint than the traditional, dilapidated building that's been empty for
Yeah,
the last 5 years.
that's great. And then the great thing is next week we should definitely get something with Denise. So she'll be really engaging these like the
Clients.
ones, yeah, the large investors. So she is so independently of Innovo. She works with one of Innovo's deal advisors, with whom we've been working months on getting just redoing data rooms of some of these large project promoters, so that those would actually be fit for those. So, for example, let's say for You, Amy, would be doing things like getting all your pro formas and all of that because that's what a real estate investor would look at.
Yep.
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 I think then it sounds like next week a good set of next steps would be uh on getting a call scheduled with all of us to talk about the pitch strategy for the theme park, having a conversation with Ben White around the economic
Yes.
development plan as a whole, and then and then at some point it could be probably either the first call or a second one where we loop in Denise to say,
Yeah.
hey, this is where this is going, and we think real estate investment is actually the better tier because they can see the potential of saying, I'm going to invest. You may get to a point, Amy, where you're going to invest. You may want $50 million because it'll build way faster traction. And if they know that that property is going to increase in valuation in the next 3 years relatively quickly because of the things you want to put into it, that those dollars and cents will make way much more sense to those developers, and especially with Denise's international experience around the UK. I was actually thinking more like Saudi money because they're really interested in buying some
Well,
properties here.
she's engaged a wide range of sources herself.
Yeah.
Like her network is international. Her background has been 20 plus years in the solar industry in California. So she
Yeah.
also runs her business. She actually runs one of the most profitable, the one of the biggest selling franchises. She's one of the best top performing franchisees within this network with this solar group called Apricot Solar, based in Nevada. So,
Oh yeah.
yes, so she basically runs one of their top performing affiliates.
And if anybody happens to know the royals, a little bird keeps telling me that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle might like haunted genre stuff. So
Well,
they don't have
that'd be coming since again, we'll basically let her take the lead because she's very adept at navigating those those with the in the city of London. That she's very adept around those circles.
Yeah.
all
Very
right.
Okay, so those are kind of three big next steps for us. Yangbo, you're going to reach out to Denise.
Yep, I've already briefed her. So this past week, I've already briefed her. Like I've shared with her your high-level outline, Amy, and told her that you'll have additional details that would be coming. So best would be next week. Actually, we have a call with her because where this comes in is that this means we're going to have another potential site for even multiple in novo crop clean tech projects in Taylor, Texas, because of where it is as a rail node, Union Pacific. So you have heavy manufacturing, therefore you're going to get, let's say, with the waste to value, you'll get plenty of process heat. So then we then stack those technologies with waste heat recovery. And then the process heat then can be used by the manufacturers moving in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Can we get some seed money from Innovo?
Well, we work differently because all of the prep work, all that's paid in arrears. So we actually build our front end loading, so FEL 0 and FEL 1, into the capital outlay of the project.
Okay.
So when the deal closes, for example, for a $500 million project, so normally FEL 0, FEL 1 is between 5 and 20% of the total capex of a project, between 5 and 20. It's higher for smaller builds and earlier builds. And then as you do more of those, the percentage drops. And as you get bigger projects, also the percentage drops. So for the first ones, our FEL would be total, let's say 500 million. Our total FEL 0, FEL 1 would be roughly 90 million. And then the of that 90 million, roughly 30 million would then go to tech providers. So basically license fees, all that's going to be covered under FEL 0, FEL 1, any technical prep, like the tech providers would do, that's also covered. And then the 60 million, then that would then cover all of the
team staff.
day rates that would then just all of the time that Innovo corporate entrepreneurs put at risk on this.
Um, I so just because I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I know it's a late Friday night. If you guys are good with a few more minutes of chatting, that'd be great. Yango, you'll get a call. I'm looking at my week next week. So Thursday's getting quite crowded. Tuesday and Wednesday are much better. I can
Yeah,
always.
it's very, very flexible. Denise is very flexible. She basically she said anytime during the day, any time of day and next week, it's her annual paid holiday off from her day job. So she'll be very flexible.
And she's is she in London?
No, she's actually in Oakland.
Oh, okay. So we don't have to worry about the time zone difference as
Right,
much.
yeah.
I've got like a noon Central Time on Tuesday open. If that works
Yep,
for everybody else.
that should be fine with her. I'll let her know. Then we'll just pencil noon Central
25th.
Tuesday. Yep, that
The
should work. So for
25th, does that work for you, Penny and
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
Noon to 1 Central. Yes, let's do that.
Wonderful. And then Penny and Amy, we'll leave it to you to get a call booked with Ben so we can all talk about this economic development opportunity for the strategy lab, which will be like the feasibility study to get all this going. And then once we have that call, feel free to send me the pitch deck that you guys have now, and I'm happy to look over it over the weekend, and I can send you some notes and we can kind of reiterate with Denise as well. Once we have that call. But yeah, I think we can kind of run some of these in parallel because we do have to, you obviously have a capital to raise relatively soon. So like, let's run a couple of these at the same time, because even if we do get a strategy lab out of Taylor, Texas to kind of work through, it still takes us about 6 weeks to complete it. And to give the city of Texas like all the details of what the potential and financial modelings and implications and so on. So we can run both of those and then really build out a strategic play for your investment strategy while we do that.
That is
Yeah, because we can definitely get the strategy lab, at least the feasibility phase done well before the 10 November target for your groundbreaking, Amy. So that's
Yeah.
fine here because it's really straightforward that once, again, with at least with Ben's support, I'm pretty sure at this point that he's going to see the value in this, and it's really just walking him through the specifics of how it's going to work.
Yeah, it's basically the potential come to life kind of thing. And then you would have one other thing that you can use as part of your validity for your investors too, because it would be part of, a third party discussion to say this is what our models have come up with for the potential of your land.
right.
So, and Penny, I'm sure you got this around like the intellectual property, like sharing just enough that the investors nibble,
Right.
but not so much that you give away, and then they're like, "That's
Yeah,
a great
you
idea."
gotta give away
Thanks.
all your
Bye.
secrets. I know. Yes. It's always
So
that little tightrope you gotta walk on. Give them enough,
Yeah.
but not too much. Yes.
Or I'm happy to sign an NDA of anything that you guys would like. So feel free to send that to me if you'd like.
All right.
Yeah. Kenny doesn't like my thoughts on that. I'm kind of in the spirit of Nikola Tesla. If I inspire somebody to be great or inspire somebody to do something better or do something they never thought of, it's actually an honor. And I just, if anybody wants to do this, feel free.
And we're on basis of retrospective fairness. So for instance, Amy, since you registered
I
with
want you guys
Novo,
to
so
be part
basically
of my
you're
company permanently.
Yes.
Would you guys want to join my company? Penny, can we make them an offer? I think I want them to be on.
Offer them. What shall we offer them yet, Amy?
What do you guys see yourself doing? Because I don't think I'm going to get very far without y'all helping me. I mean, I've gotten this far, but I know I'm going to get to the finish line. No.
I agree. I've been watching her face this whole time. I was like, don't cry. But I saw it coming.
Yeah, if you
Well,
can,
it's
you
just
yeah, you can you can have
exciting.
you can both have both of us as what we call NEDs, non-executive directors. So yeah,
There you go.
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
Yep.
We'll get you guys paperwork and figure something out and whatever works for everybody.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That'd be an honor. Mwah.
Yeah. We do, but we do want to protect you, especially as you start talking to some investors, because I love you the way you're thinking around like if someone else is inspired by this and can grow it, but we also want to protect you and say an investor who has the funds to basically take your baby away from you and potentially buy that particular land. That's not what we want. We will, and they wouldn't do it the justice that I think you would do it regardless. So, I think that
Thank you.
grassroots.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there are ways to structure it. Since with de novo, we have pretty much a template. It's our article of association that pretty much lays out all the terms of investment. We do it by share, like a seal bid, a share auction. So there's no period where an investor can. There's like VC. The trouble is, and this is really why we avoid really VC. It's avoid that
Player
issue that
radic.
like if a VC wants to get in de novo, they have to describe those terms. Like there's no lock-in in which they get to drag out negotiations in hopes that the other party gets more desperate. So to offer better and better terms to the investor, but rather have multiple investors, just like an M&A deal. Like you have multiple investors making multiple offers, and you can accept, you can either consider or accept, consider or deny any or all of them.
And it's an auction. I mean,
Yes.
honestly, auction with more to calculate in than just dollars because you're going to be a part of you.
Yeah.
For a
Awesome.
while. So
Yeah, let's get that going. I like that. And that's Texas. They will love that. That will really go. We can really do something like an amazing event with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so.
great.
All right.
Oh, well, thank you so
Okay.
much. I'm thrilled to meet you.
Likewise. I've really enjoyed these last few calls.
Thank you.
So Yangbo, you'll get that scheduled, and then
Yes.
we'll circle back regardless to kind of talk about the conversations with Ben and how we want to take that forward. Again, in the meantime, send me any documentation you'd like,
Yeah.
and I'll work through it. I've actually got a long meeting this weekend, so I have time to go through some investment pitches.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have like well, Yangbo, did you send me like a general of like what you want me to say exactly to Ben to let him know it's not just a theme park, you know?
Yeah, so that was precisely why Elda and I sent you the high-level outline.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's precisely why
I
we did
can give
that.
you some
So
bullet points, Amy, if that helps.
Okay.
To say, okay, this is what the outline will do, but if you want some precursory messaging, I can send that to you.
Yeah,
Well,
just so I
honestly, I
can, because
wouldn't.
this is my first development, y'all, by the third one, I'll have all this down.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
wouldn't mind
Okay.
meeting you in person when we're down there. I mean, we're going there on Thursday. I wouldn't mind meeting Ben in person as well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we can, let's,
that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make a big impact. Okay. I'm gonna start writing some kind of couple of bullet points for you, Amy, and Penny. And
Thank you.
Penny, I don't think I have your email, but you may be in here.
I don't know.
Let me see.
Well, if you just want to do Penny at Haunted Texas Theme Park.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So it's the
that's-
same domain. Perfect.
yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Okay. Oh, awesome. Great
Right.
to meet you all. I mean, I'm thrilled to be working with you.
Likewise.
Thank
I'm so excited for this. Have a good
Thank
weekend,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, we'll just cut it right there.
All right, give me one sec.
Yep.
Okay.